What's good, world? It's your boy Brandon P.
Yo, what's up? This is Beacon Light.
Yo, what up? This is Derek Miner.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Brandon.
Yo, this is George Rose.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Miles Minnick, and you are tuned in to Oxen Brand Music. Let's glow.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. What up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for another Mix Mondays. What up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is DJ Integrity. Welcome to Mix Mondays, hosted and powered by Oxen Brand Music. We're going to get through our normal hellos. So if you guys are here watching a replay, you might want to scrub forward a little bit. There should be a timestamp. And if not, just know that I'm a busy man, okay? All right? I can't do it all. So if you guys did not know, we do have some Spotify playlists for you guys. First, we have our Smooth Vibes, which is self-explanatory. Crate Diggers, and then we also, for our workout people, like our guests who be getting it in the gym, we got you with some Oxen Strong. And then if you like to work out to some rock or just enjoy some rock on your casual walk in the park, we got you for On the Rock. And then for my lo-fi people, that's where my heart is especially at. I got some hand-selected tracks there that's sure to keep you going. And then also we have Praise Bops. And so this has got a little bit of a R&B. This was inspired by one of our guests, Spencer. And so make sure you guys check that out. Yes. Rome is in the chat. Corazon is in the chat too as well. Hey, if you guys are here on Twitch, I know some of you guys are, we're also streaming to YouTube. So make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube, where not only does the recaps go, but as well as exclusive, and when I say exclusive, I mean YouTube exclusive podcasts as well that don't show up via here on Twitch. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to waste no time whatsoever. Help me welcome to the show, back to the show, and it's been such a long time. Give it up for the homie Rome. Let's go.
Been too long.
Been too long. We here though, man.
We here.
Bro.
Hey, yeah. So what's up with y'all, man?
Yeah, hey man, it's been good. Lord has definitely blessed us with continual guests and beautiful conversations that are filled with just a lot of knowledge and wisdom, you know, and also just some really fun rants, because I enjoy those too as well. So, but bro, what have you been up to, man? I know last time we talked, there was you were, I would say, in a valley kind of moment, kind of area, space, and just a lot's going on there. But recently we checked back in and we saw you do some outside performance out in Indiana as well, and so you got some other things going. So man, yeah, catch us up, bro. What you been up on?
Oh, honestly, so yeah, last time we talked, I just got robbed or something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
For those who don't know me, just a quick intro. Yeah, like you said, my name is Herbert. I'm a hip hop artist out of Indianapolis. You feel me? I'm a mood building, room bonding byproduct of Black American schizophrenia, creating bold music for you to fight fear. But that's to the sounds of blackness, mental health, and Jesus until the whole world hears us. And a large part of my practice, my discipline is writing, recording, releasing, and performing songs, as well as facilitating interactive and empathetic listening spaces. So a lot of my work recently, especially this year, I've been involved in 2 business communities, really just understanding the business aspect of music and business in general, just the certain legal things you need to do, and stuff like accounting, all the stuff people don't want to do. You feel me?
Yeah.
For that down this year. But it's really just been continuing to practice writing songs, performing, and building more community. So I've been doing a lot of listening sessions and parties monthly, just in my area in the community.
Dope.
And just really more tapped in with my local church community. So it's really just been a lot of, I would say, getting tighter on the things I've been doing for a while. Some of it like restarting, because you go for a while doing certain things a certain way, and you find out it can be better ways. So even something small, like I usually for accounting and bookkeeping, I go to Excel sheets, and that's what I've been doing for years.
Mm-hmm.
Business program, they put me on to this thing called Wave apps.
Oh yeah.
And with Wave, do you hit to it?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't used it, but yeah, I've heard of it.
It's like the free hood version of QuickBooks, basically. You know what I mean? But it'll tap into your bank account automatically,
Yeah.
but then you go through and categorize the expenses, and it'll generate certain documents that are helpful for you, like balance sheets, profit and loss statements, all that type of stuff that I just didn't really know how to create.
Yeah.
Because and this kind of going on a little granular level, but a lot of times when I was just learning business, I was thinking, okay, cash in, cash out, kind of how I do my personal budget. But starting to learn more about, okay, you want to look at cash flow statements, and then if there's investors too, they want to know kind of the health of your business for certain times. And if you're looking at loans from the bank, stuff like that, those are all things that go deeper into accounting that I just didn't know. So stuff like in my business programs that just really helped me get tighter and be more strategic with my tracking, because we got to give account for everything we do, right?
Yeah.
And it's, especially as an artist, sometimes going to that side of the brain is not desired.
Yeah. No, understand. Yeah. Come on, financial literacy. Let's go. I love it, man. I love it. You said something kind of in your intro pitch where you said something about and I could be wrong. You said promoting black sound or something like that. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yes, I'm a byproduct of Black American schizophrenia.
Right.
Create music for you to fight fear to the sounds of blackness, mental health, and Jesus.
Gotcha. What is can you define what does that mean when you said to the sounds of blackness?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So to the sounds of blackness, essentially, I found specifically in my practice and discipline and being in the Midwest and being a Black person in the Midwest is that oftentimes your identity can be tolerated and not celebrated, right? And that's the minority experience that happens often in places where I performed at white Christian spaces and even places that were more ethnically diverse. It's more of a uniformity versus a unity, I would say. So different cultures are called to assimilate into a norm which can unfortunately tend to be white. So my putting the branding sessions knowledge into practice. Yeah. So unfortunately, my aim is not unfortunately, but fortunately, my aim, given the storyline God's placed me in, is to highlight, celebrate that narrative that I'm within. And I found that more often than not, people end up appreciating it because they're able to look at their own background and narrative and find the value that's within it. So that's that first part of having the sounds of blackness present, both from a musical standpoint, but then also from a narrative standpoint, because sometimes narratives we kind of shy away from that.
Yeah. Well, and the reason why I was asking because I understand the narrative side of it, but it was the sonic. I guess I didn't know if it had to do with sonics, and then if so, I was like, okay, what does black sound like? You know what I mean? Like that. I was just trying to get clarity on what you meant by that. So
yeah, that's a great point too. That's a great point.
So what do you kind of going right into that, man? So when you talked about, when you're in primarily, evangelical space or whatever, i.e., typically white, Christianity, and not white Christianity by like what actual Christian, just around white Christians. Okay, primarily white Christians is what we're saying. When you're there, you said that when you're in those spaces, you feel that you have to, I don't know, did you say conform?
Yeah, so assimilate or conform can be the temptation for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, and so so to conform, what does again? I'm just trying to. I like to understand things, right? And the reason why I'm saying that too, and even I'm going into it right now, right? You got Juneteenth, right, is going to be coming up in a couple of weeks, stuff like that, and so. I'm obviously as a Latino, anybody who's excited about their culture, I want white people to be excited about their culture, whatever it is. If you're Irish, if you're English, Scottish, like wherever you come from, right? If you German, like rep your hood, rep where you're from, rep your ethnicity. So I'm asking this because what I don't want is that too many times when anybody is celebrating their ethnicity, right, their background, and primarily in the white space, and there's a reason why I see both sides of things, but a lot of times, when someone is celebrating, it does not mean that you're negating theirs, right? You're like if I talk about how much I'm a Latino and hey, I'm Panama, stand up, like let's go, whatever, right? If I'm doing that, I'm not saying Rome, you weak, your background's weak. It's all Latinos, right? No, May 5th, maybe, even though it's not really a Latino thing. Sure, yes, absolutely. Okay, I understand that, but you understand what I'm saying. So that's why I was asking those questions too, because I think when somebody hears that we have to conform to that, I think I don't want to assume, right? I don't ever like assumption, right? Because you know what they say about assuming, right? They say don't do it. So
They do say that too.
They say don't do that. So just for clarity's sake, what do you mean when you say that sometimes you have, and this could just be personal experience, that you felt like you've had to conform? Like in what ways are you conforming? Are you conforming like within like your own religious beliefs? That you got a code switch? For those who don't know what that means, maybe you can explain what that means as well. So like what does that mean when you feel like you have to conform?
No, that's a great question. I appreciate you even bringing some of your own context into that. How you said celebrating being Latino isn't a diss towards nobody else.
Yeah.
And I think probably the biggest issue so I'm going to take it like I'm going to zoom out a bit, then I'm going to zoom into my own life if I can do that.
Understood.
So zooming out, looking at the early church in the American context, the early church, so outside of the American context, was very diverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had moments in time where the Greek widows were crying out because they were being neglected in the distribution. And so what did they do? They appointed people that knew how to speak the language and then hear their cries, attend towards them. And you had people from all these different backgrounds coming together.
Yeah.
And then when we look at the American context and how Christianity and faith has played out, the racial caste system, I would say, is vastly different from the understanding of how people move within the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like whiteness was created as a means of superiority because the elites wanted, actually, at least they didn't really mess with the lower class white people. They just didn't want them to join forces with the enslaved Africans, right? And as a result of that, whiteness then even became something that people assimilated to, whether that be Irish, German, etc., all that stuff you mentioned before. Those ethnicities and those heritages, I think, are things in beautiful cultures that we have kind of lost because we blanketed people as just white, right? Because people aren't, you know what I'm saying? Even blackness from a standpoint was also a social construct created. So it was created to group people in an inferiority, and whiteness was created to group people in superiority. And so both people groups, both races lost beautiful diversity and heritage and culture because elites wanted power. They wanted to maintain their power and they didn't want to lose that. And so when I consider my own life, right, so that was kind of the zoom out version of like, okay, we're in the American context to where when you come in, when I say America, too, I'm talking about the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even you that's Latino may face pressures to be conformed to the mainline of whiteness. And then even white people too that may not know their background, their heritage, they push to conform into whiteness. So to zoom in now on me specifically, right? When it comes to being in certain spaces with, you know what I'm saying, specifically talking about white evangelicals, but it can even come outside of, you know what I'm saying, the Christian spaces. But when it comes to being in Caucasian communities, we'll put it simply, there's temptation, right? You mentioned one, code switching. So changing your language to be more on par with the grammar, the structure that they may talk, and not using certain language that you use in your culture, continue to have opportunities, whether to be in those spaces or to gain power among those people so that you're not, you know, saying put aside, ostracized. So for me, say I'm in a space performing or connecting with people, I may not be talking about this, right? I may not be talking about whiteness. I might be talking my background, my heritage, my upbringing, growing up in Black communities, because I know that those people there won't understand, and I know it's gonna offend a lot of people. So therefore, it's like, one, it's that temptation to code switch, but also temptation not to bring all of me into the situation. But God gave me certain life experiences and interactions for a reason. So if I approach those spaces like, oh, I can't share that part of myself, or else I'm gonna be rejected, right?
Yeah.
Then that, if I'm moving in a fear of rejection and I'm not able to be and proclaim fully what God called me to proclaim, then that's that conformity that I'm speaking about. Now, I think there's definitely, especially when like this last decade we seen, there's been a great call to express and fully approach who you are and bring that to bear in the spaces. But in the same token too, there's also the ministry of reconciliation that all believers have. And I say that because I feel like a lot of times a buzzword was racial reconciliation.
Oh yeah.
That there was a lot of marks missed when it came to that, because it often just ended up being, how do I put this? Well, no. So I liked it. It was this one article somebody shared with me, and I'm gonna butcher it, so I'm not gonna completely put it out. But they use a good term called ethnic justice, right? Which comes back to the concept I was talking about before about people understanding their ethnicity and understand the justice that it takes to bring that about. Whether that be other inequities that history had, but when you have the ministry of reconciliation too, no matter what situation you're approaching, you're not seeking to elevate your identity above nobody else, like we said before, but you're seeking to say, okay, how can we bring forth God's justice and kingdom into the situation, whatever room we're in, right?
Yeah.
That was one of my biggest lessons in my journey in creating like things like that purpose statement, right? The reason why I say Blackness, mental health, and Jesus is because those are those kind of revolving doors that allow me to, I would say, build more bridges into conversations that people otherwise won't talk about. But not everybody dives into that narrative because that's not everybody's story. So that, all in all, so that I don't get too much on a tangent, but to come in, that's how I say the biggest temptation within the context of American and Christian spaces, specifically white, is not not recognizing the glory in your ethnicity, the glory in your story, and deciding to shrink back because of fear of losing opportunity, losing power. But if God created these people, He created me, He created everybody, then you can come into those spaces with a sense of confidence and boldness, but not for the sake of just yourself. So that's why for me, when I also crafted that, I put Jesus at the end, because I say that's like the goal of, like, we go through the blackness, we go through mental health, because that's also still very stigmatized, even though it's becoming more, it's more awareness towards it. At least in my experience, I feel like it's still very much stigmatized within spaces that I move within. So we move through those different things to get to Jesus, and then I say it's until the whole world hears us. So yeah, that's kind of my hot take.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and when it comes to, and I like that you keep saying the same thing, that in the spaces that you move in, right? Because somebody could hear this and go, "I've never seen any of this. This is all a lie. I think this is just fabrication. I think this is just Rome overly stimulated with, black this, black that, whatever." And the reason why I say that is because that is what happens when somebody doesn't listen to the words and they just hear those trigger words, right? That we all hear via social media, and so with you stating that, though, that is what you experience, um, that again, kind of like with the earlier conversation, it does not negate somebody else's experience, um, and their experience doesn't negate your experience, and the reason why I say that is because for myself personally, I mean, I've seen diversity, in a lot of different things. I've seen a lot of acceptance, and part of it I feel like could also be my perspective. Maybe I wasn't nearly as aware as to how somebody was trying to treat me, um, because the confidence that I had was different. And so maybe it wasn't so overtly, sarcastic, or overtly, certain things. Now, have I experienced the overtly? Absolutely. Have I been followed in stores? Absolutely. Have I been communicated in such a way that I'm like, you haven't talked to anybody else but me, homie? And there is a reason behind that. Maybe you are not, quote unquote, the trigger word, where you're totally, literally against me because I'm brown. And you're also spending more time with me than anybody else. So, there's reasons to that. And being married to a police officer, and one who's in the law enforcement and stuff, again, I also understand the other side of things too, because there are stereotypes for a reason, uh, but you should not lead with that, right? But when you're also in certain environments, such as like my wife in, when she's pulling somebody over, right, or she's coming up to a scene or whatever, she has to take in every information that she possibly can and try to make a split second judgment on whatever it is. However, she also doesn't go into the situation trying to find a way to escalate it, right? Because the goal is to really de-escalate situations. So I know we're kind of going on tangents on that too, but that's what I wanted it to go back to, is that I appreciated the fact that you took the time to not only try to walk that through for us, but also to keep pointing back to, from your experience, right, from the circles you're around, because it is different depending on where you are, right? I mean, if you're in a certain part of Miami, it's totally different. Certain part of Chicago is totally different, right? Gosh, even in my area, you don't have to drive too far one direction or the other. You can go, really country. You can go very uppity, like, yo, I probably shouldn't even walk here because I might have to pay something because it's just so expensive here. And then you also have, East St. Louis and other areas where, it is more inner city, right? It is a little bit more down in the sense of, um, you know, uh, new stores being built, right? Like they're not building up certain areas, so there's just I enjoy talking about things like that because, again, one of the things that I do, especially when I'm DJing weddings and everything else, like I especially if I know the wedding party is like the wedding is mostly white, whatever. In fact, there's one. All right, so I'm gonna quickly say this, and then we'll keep moving on. So there's one time where one of my MCs, he's black, right? So he's lighter skinned. So we're similar in brownish, right? Uh, but we, we're looking around and we're like, oh, we are literally the only brown people around here, right? And no shot to them. That's just who they are. That's obviously who their people are, right? That's right. We're there to celebrate, right? But at the same time, it was also very obvious that we were. And so what I like to do anytime I get on a hot mic, and I know my personality works well with this, so I try to do it in a way that it can be received well. But I kid you not, bro. Like, I'm sitting here talking and I'm like, hey, and if you guys need anything, just go ahead and ask the only two brown people here, myself or my MC over there. And it was funny because, people, they're kind of like listening or whatever. And I said that and they went, and they just stopped. Like they dropped the jaw. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, wait, did you guys not know we're brown? There's not a lot of brown here. I'm just letting you know that there are some brown people here. That's okay. Okay. We're here for you guys. But I like to do stuff like that because of the fact that it's like, hey, it's so obvious, right? We think differently. We're going to talk differently. We're going to experience things differently. Gosh, my youngest son last night has never, and I've done this plenty of times, so he's probably just never noticed it, but he's never seen me take a tortilla and fire up our gas grill and warm it up / kind of crisp it a little bit, right, on both sides. He was like, I've never seen this before. I was like, Mio, I do this all the time. What are you talking about? He's like, no, I've just never seen it. I was like, well, I'm gonna tell you right now, my family growing up as Latinos, like that, there is not a Latino around that does not do this thing before. Like if we're at home, if there's an open fire before I make a case, any kind of deal, whatever, we flipping, we putting that flame up and flip it a couple times, warm it up. So it's and it was just fun because, my kids are technically mixed, right? So they're getting certain things that they do with me and conversations that they get with me that, my athletes, right? I coach gymnastics. There's some athletes where, somebody will be like, oh yeah, we do this and we do this. And then I look at at the time there's like only two black girls on the team or whatever. Everybody's like all like, yeah, don't you know this or whatever. And I look at them, I look at my girls and I go, y'all know that we've never experienced everything y'all are saying right now, right? Like I'm telling you, like what you guys are experiencing is totally different. So sorry. So I know we're going on a total rant, but I love to have these kind of conversations because it is just something to celebrate and something cool to talk about because like you said, Lord's made everybody different, right? And that ought to be celebrated, right? Accents, the way we dress, different colors we like to wear. Certain colors don't look good on certain skin tones. Certain lighting doesn't look good on certain skin tones. And those are fun. Those are fun to learn and listen about. So, but we're gonna hard switch. I want to talk. Because we kind of got into it a little bit, and I want to backpedal about how last time you were on here, there were some hard things that you were going through, right? Yeah, you gone through getting robbed and everything else, and I remember that a lot of our conversation, though you were in this disparity, and there were low seasons, you had a fight about you, right? And you've continued to fight, and so I would say, and obviously it's been a long time since we caught up, but I would say you're continuing to fight and you're continuing to grow. Just even the financial literacy, like there's certain things that you're like, yo, I'm no matter what my past is, I know God is still ahead of me, so I'm gonna keep trucking, I'm gonna keep moving forward. I wanted to ask you, like, what do you do, or what have you found to help you continue to be strong in those moments of weakness? It's not to say that since that time you've never had anything go wrong, and life has been perfect since then. So what do you do for you, bro? Like how can you kind of give us some tips and some thoughts as to what it is that you do specifically to help you to be strong in those weak areas or in those weak times?
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great question, man. Out the gate, I really appreciate, well, not to keep too much on the last conversation, mm-hmm. but the awareness, I think, is key that you talked about. The awareness of who we are and where we're at. And I think that's that's one of the main things that keeps one my whole mission centering people that's forgotten. And so the reason why, and it's gonna tie in, so I'm not completely switching back.
Yeah,
The
you good.
reason why my stories and all that is because the history, the narrative that we've been placed in, we were often overlooked and forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just how society's set up within the racial caste system. And so how that even jumps back to my own life is right, I can wrestle so much with feelings of abandonment based upon my distance with my family dynamics with my parents, right? My mom having a mental illness growing up and still wrestling with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the distance between relationship with my father, stuff I'm still trying to heal. And so often a lot of stuff is very sensationalized and I would say hyper spiritualized when you first kind of coming into your faith.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a disconnect between who you are and where you come from because we hear proclamations that are true, right? That behold, if anyone he's in Christ, he's a new creation. The old is past, the new is come. We hear solid things, solid truths that we should hold on to.
Yeah.
But it's just called emotionally healthy spirituality that's drastically changed my life. Shout out to my dude Mookie. He's this dude. I was in a campus ministry called Impact. This Indian brother actually put me onto this book. He was discipling me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And just realizing that so much of how we interact with God is based upon our family upbringing, you know?
Yeah.
And with me feeling distance from my father inadvertently, a lot of times caused me to question God's presence.
Mm.
And that's been a constant theme of kind of rejection, abandonment that I've had to wrestle with consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Around the time that I first came to my faith in Jesus, I was like, yo, I really want to be sure, you know, I want to know who God is. They talk about walking with God a lot, right? What does that actually mean, though?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest spiritual disciplines I would say in my life personally that is like helped me is keeping a journal. And I call it my Psalm 9:1,
Mm.
which is I shall recount all of your wonderful deeds. But what do you do to recount, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have to count. When we're talking
Yeah.
about account. And so I literally have probably 8 or 9 journals full that stretches a decade or so worth of my journey with Jesus.
Wow, that's good.
One of my mentors that discipled me in college, he taught me this tool, how to walk for God, head, heart, hands, which is you look at what the passage is actually saying first,
Mm-hmm.
then see how your heart responds, and then you see how the gospel is kind of applied to it. And so that has been one of my saving graces because I literally look back through and have to recount what God has done, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It did feel like giving up, or I was about to give up, and then situations that a year or two later completely changed around. But I mean, we forget stuff from a month ago typically. So I would say that's been somewhat of just really helped me understand my story a lot better
Mm-hmm.
and more clearly. And then, of course, people, you know, God does a great work through people in his church. And I think, like I was saying before, with my upbringing and my current wrestles with family dynamics, the temptation for me typically is to shut down or isolate.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do that and you don't come allow people, one, to love you and then to love others, then your heart can become hardened to God's truth.
Amen. Yeah.
So I found that even in times where I've had spaces where I was out of church for a little bit, right? Where I'm kind of in limbo, where I think it was last year actually,
Mm-hmm.
I left one of my churches I I got into when I first came back to the city, but I sensed the shift in direction to somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Where right now I found some place to land, but even in those spaces, you can't forsake assembly with saints, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't forsake meeting together with other believers or other people. So having individuals that have known me also for about as long that I've been walking with Jesus to reach out to check in on me and be those kind of like I'll say bowling, right? So when you bowling, if if you if you need the gutter lanes in because you can't bowl that well, then you know you'll hit those bumpers and it'll bounce in,
Mm-hmm.
right? So sometimes those people I say are those like kind of bumper lanes for the gutters that you don't go in the gutter
Mm-hmm.
because you keep trying to put up toss up a couple I don't even know, maybe bowls is a word. You try to get a couple good bowls in,
Mm-hmm.
you're in a space where you just need extra support. So it's like people like that is like, okay, are you, where are you looking to tap into still though? Because I feel like the one of the biggest issues of kind of post modern society now is that everybody's truth is truth basically. So even the fact that say live in your truth, phrases like um it's understandable why because certain truths have been discarded. Like I mentioned before, right? Certain truths were discarded, suppressed, etc., etc. But I always think about when you become wise in your own eyes, that's when you're likely to fall into destruction.
Yeah.
And I just had people that even as I was in places where I wouldn't say I would ever fully had deconstructed my faith,
Mm-hmm.
but I've definitely been in those dark moments where I'm like, God, I don't even understand why you still have me here, you
Yeah.
know? And so having that awareness of those individuals, at least 3 or 5 that have known you for a good couple years in your journey, that's been another one of my saving graces. Um, so
Yeah. Yeah. That's
it
good.
yeah, I guess to reel it back in, those have been kind of my most practical. It's like making the intention effort to talk with God and continue writing the next page and chapter of your story because it's like I know that last chapter was pretty tough, you know what I'm saying? You probably wanted to close the book after that. But right, as long as you got breath in you, but also really just even if you got to like list out those people that you know in the past, because even those people, a lot of them was in my journals. So it's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it helps me recount God's wonderful deeds through his people.
Yeah, yeah, that's good to always remind yourself. Yes, especially if you are struggling with some kind of faith in some area. Recounting is very, very important. In fact, I mean, gosh, if you're reading the Old Testament, there's a lot of recounting, right? I got a homie, Marco. He's like, man, stuff be repeating. I'm like, I know, but it repeats for a reason. So bear
Uh,
through it and keep remembering it, right? But I do agree. Yeah, being able to go back, journal, that definitely helps. Community continues to help. Having those people that you talked about to help you along those things definitely is helpful for sure. So with you know, with having people in your life and all this other stuff too, um, there's also an understanding that you have to have about yourself. If like, let's say you're feeling bogged down. Let's say there's you're going through some stuff and you're like, man, there's a lot going on. The first thing that you have to do, and this is gonna be a good segue, is you have to realize what kind of capacity can you take on. Are you taking on too much, right? Are you doing something that is even needed to be done? Can you switch some stuff up? Can you take some stuff off? And so I think that would be a great segue to talk about the Oxen Brand Spotlight portion of the show, where we get a chance to hear from our artist here, Rome, to talk about his song Capacity. So I think that's really good. Can you talk to us about just the heart behind it, the lyrics, and what kind of space you were in when you wrote that?
Great segue. Great segue. Look at that. Yeah. I was at the time, man. And this, I mean, it was a recent song actually too. It's actually a song off my upcoming project, Social Wellness. And I was doing too much. I was definitely doing too much. And then somebody had asked me to perform somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 2 or 3 weeks away. And I was just like, yeah, no, they asked me like they wanted me like write a song, like produce it, make this chant, perform it. It's like 2, 3 weeks away.
Wow.
I'm like, so what I can do is I have a song that, because it was to go with like a theme for they too, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I don't think I can do all that, but what I can do is I could probably find something that could match it if there's something in my catalog, and maybe from there, and then I ain't really hear back. So I think, and it's no knock to them, right? It's no knock to when people have a vision for things or how they want stuff to go.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes we can end up serving everybody else's vision and agenda for our lives, and they're not even bad too.
Yeah. So wait, you're saying? I'm sorry. So you're saying the song Capacity right now? You said that was a song that you were basically requested to do, but then they didn't end up using either you or the song. Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh no. Actually, let me clarify.
Okay, sorry, I'm lost it.
Yeah, I feel you. No, I wrote that as it wasn't a song that was requested for that.
Okay.
It was birthed out of that situation.
Okay. All right. So the situation, not necessarily the song itself. Got it. Okay, I'm tracking now.
So I was kind of just thinking, like, when you say no to certain things or certain opportunities, it might be no, not right now, or just simply no. But it doesn't mean there's any animosity. And
yeah.
I think it's a hard lesson, because especially when you want to do good works, and there's so many good things out there. Not everything, like, scripture saying, not everything beneficial. You feel me?
Yeah.
And you got to kind of learn that continually, that you're not God, and not trying to take on too much. Like, even when you looked at the humanity of Jesus, he would retreat to be with his Father.
Yeah.
And he would the crowds to recharge and re-energize. And I don't know, I feel like giving us a great example of allowing humanly rhythms to be good, to not just spin yourself until you have nothing left, And it's this book called, I'm not reading it yet, so it's not a recommendation. But
understood.
Just to clarify, because if you read it, you're like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But one of my guys, a couple of my guys actually, they've been through it. It's called Rest is Resistance. And it just really ties into the idea that so much also within the society that we in, a very hyper consumption and capitalistic approach, is that rest is only for the sake of doing more. Like you only
Yeah.
able to be more efficient,
Right.
rather than rest as a means of being more. So even like rest as a means of being with God, being with people outside of the works that you can do. And so, and it even jumps back to the whole concept of the Sabbath, right? I know there's a lot of it, and we ain't got to go deep into that rabbit hole, but it's very contested. But the idea that resting from work for enjoyment and for replenishment and pleasure is actually godly, and it's not like a uh, come on, you should be able to do more.
Yeah.
Not do. I think it's often a trend we find even within ministry activities. There can be this treadmill of, oh, they could have been doing more.
Right.
Come on. So that's kind of the heart for sure behind just a time where I had to say no. Honestly, that's all it was. I was just like, I had to. So sometimes it doesn't feel because like for me, I'm somebody that can overcompensate. In time back earlier, what I said, kind of that fear of rejection. It's like, oh, if I say no, then they probably won't call on me for something again, or I'm gonna let somebody. But it's like your identity shouldn't be on the line for saying no to somebody. You know?
Amen. Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's good. Yeah, definitely know your capacity for sure. Let's go ahead and get into the song. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't heard this already, it is out now currently. So, make sure you guys stream it all platforms. And is it on iTunes and all digital platforms as well?
All digital platforms.
Okay, all right. Y'all know what to do. Go ahead and run the numbers up and go ahead and purchase the track. So, let's get into it, bro.
Capacity, ain't got no space, I'm at capacity. Yeah, that sounds great, but I'm at capacity. You just too late, I'm at capacity. Capacity, capacity. I can't entertain when you are asking me. There ain't no hate, just been maxing me. I don't wanna say face, so I gotta play carefully. Often I be overcompensating my capacity. Ain't got no space, I'm at capacity. Yeah, that sounds great, but I'm at capacity. You just too late, I'm at capacity. Capacity. Yeah, they may be passing me. I ain't really worried about it, I want peace. They don't even say please before. When I started giving less, you demanded more. I know your motives, you can't control me. I'm not an opponent, but you won't exploit me. It might be no, not right now, but I promise it's cause I'm at max capacity. I ain't got no space, I'm
Okay with the dance switch up?
You just too late, I'm at capacity. Capacity.
It's got a whole little EDM drop. Oh yeah, of course. Of course. Hey, that's what's up. That was good. Yeah, of course I would notice the switch up. Come on now. Yes, I would. Camera quality is crazy. Hey, thank you, bro. Thanks for coming in. Yeah. Gaston. That's actually my little brother. Shout out to my little brother for pulling up, coming up into the stream. Yeah, man. So, bro, the little dance bot. What was because the track itself wasn't necessarily even pointing that direction, right? And so obviously I hear it in the way background, yes, as a DJ and also as a dancer. But yeah, man, what was the vibe? Like, why the vibe switch, man? Where'd that come from?
My guy Alvin, man. So man, I'm telling you, we So I started producing earlier this year.
Uh-huh.
You feel me? A little thumbs up.
Yeah,
But so
yeah.
I started producing earlier this year, and I actually made so I made that the beginning of the track, and I had like a dance type of switch up earlier on too.
Yeah.
But what I do often is I'll pass it on to Alvin,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll like deck it out. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew I wanted to do something very much different. Like that's what I'm saying, man. Like with this project too, I've been working on. I'm always trying to like stretch myself and be more creative. It's
Right.
stuff that I wanted to do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying like I love. Don't get it wrong. Like I love the trap type vibes and all that. But I felt like this kind of encapsulated this. I don't know. You know, you start getting loose when you understand your limits, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That might not.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. I think I go ahead and go ahead and expand on that. But I have a perspective on that. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much more than on that. I want to hear your perspective, but it felt like, man, I feel freer, so let me try something different. And I want people to like kind of get a bop to it, catch a vibe to it, man. So I remember I performed this joint live, and it was fun.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I never really dipped my toe into the dance EDM type world.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, this just sounds really fun to me, you know?
I agree.
And that was kind of inspiration behind like doing that switch. And I feel like, you know, there's always the 808s and the, you know what I'm saying, the hats and the real, you're saying, trapped out type stuff that I've done before. But I'm like, man, let's try different. Let's give the people something they can dance to. Like,
hey, I need something different because I can't do the trap for that long at all. And yeah, it just nah, bro. So no, I like it, and that's actually why. I mean, there's a lot of artists that are out there, and of course everybody does something different. But like at the same time, I also just enjoy artists that they have something different. You know, rather it's each track or maybe. You know, first 2 or 3 tracks are one way, and then the next 3 tracks, you know, are a different way. But yeah, man, I need some kind of switch up, especially if it's in the track too, right? If it's in the track, then it's like, oh, cool, like I could use this, and then because of this switch, like your track, right, going into kind of more of a dance. Hey, I could mix this into a more of a dance vibe because you led me there. So instead of creating a transition track, so obviously when I'd mix, I would do that on purpose, right? I would pull out the instrumental, right? Just use the vocals and toss a different beat, and that's how I would eventually switch. But hey, if the song's got a switch in there and it works and it's gonna take me to a different level that I can, you know, like I could say I'll be doing like 5 or 6 trap songs, and then it's like, okay, cool, it's time to switch up the vibe. Oh, you know what? If I play Rome's track real quick, it can get me to a dance vibe, and then I can go ahead and keep on moving out of that. So I need the switch up. I enjoy the switch up.
Say less.
Yeah. Yeah. So really quick, just to backtrack on the whole finding your freedom when you know your limits kind of deal. I like that. The reason why I say I like that too is because, or the perspective that I take away from something like that is when you understand what it is that you cannot do, you tend to be more aware of what you can do. If your mindset's right? If your mindset's not right, then all you're thinking about is, you know, oh, I'm a failure, I'm garbage, I'm trash, there's nothing I can do right. That's not a helpful mindset. But if you realize, okay, I'm not this kind of person, but what kind of person am I, right? Where are my strengths, right? That kind of deal. And so, and it's funny that you even mentioned that, because I literally had a conversation this morning with my gymnast with that same kind of conversation. And actually, even with my boys not too long ago, we were working out in the garage. And so it's the same conversation, which is, hey, listen, like, you got to understand who you are not sometimes to understand who you are. And I understand what that means in the terms of if I got an athlete who they're not typically the most courageous, they're not typically going to do the newest drill that I'm doing, you know, the first time, or they're not going to throw some big skill the first time or whatever, don't compare yourself. Don't be frustrated because the friends that are next to you are that way. That's just who they are. That's just how they learn. But you have certain strengths in certain ways that they don't. So why don't you just be really dope at that? It's okay to be really good at that. And so musically, if you good in the dance vibes and stuff like that, don't worry about that the friend circle that you rock in that does trap is doing really well on these trap charts. You're doing really well on the dance charts. Like, you know what I mean? So and by knowing your limits, I feel like if you understand your limitations, you get more creative within the limitations that you have, right? I know that from a breaking standpoint, right? I wasn't the strongest b-boy in my friend group, right? The homie Sean Carpenter, like, he was just buff and he could do all these power moves and muscle through it. Listen, I may look like I'm in shape, but I was never. I've got force. I don't have strength like that. It's different. So, but at the same time, saying that, because I couldn't just force myself to muscle my way through certain movements, I had to learn how to use my body differently. So there were certain movements that I learned how to use because I learned my body in a different way, and I was able to use that momentum and that body to do something that Sean couldn't do that well, right? So I couldn't do the strength stuff. I wasn't gonna worry about what I couldn't do. I was gonna try to get creative with what I could do, right, and play around with that. So yeah, so I understand. I say all that to say I understand exactly what you mean by that, and I think there is a freedom, within that as well. So yeah, I think that's good, man. I think it's good you said that. So, we're in the summer, right? This is June. And sorry, my hesitation, because I'm like, wait a minute, what? Yeah, literally, what day is it? We just started summer practices with my gymnast, so it's morning practice instead of evening. So we're in summertime, man. What you got coming up? What you doing? What kind of grind are you on right now for the summer, man?
Man, right now for the summer, I'm in a outreach grind, I would say. So I got a show lined up in July in some how I put this. I'm experimenting a lot for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I started doing too was like pop up, like performances, like street performances.
Okay.
So those was fun, real fun. Just kind of bringing the and you making more bread too, low key. It's interesting.
Wow.
But I think my main goal is to just be consistent with everything. I'm like even the song we're talking about, capacity, right? Know my capacity. So I know I really want to build community around the music, and then also consistently release the music.
Yeah.
And from there, from that moment, I'm kind of building, keep thinking of ways strategically to spread that out. So I'm even in the course right now where I'm learning running digital ads and stuff like that to social media, and continuing to stay on content marketing, woo all that type of stuff. I want those to be companions so that I'm continually moving towards the visions that I see of building bold, interactive, vulnerable listening spaces. How I mentioned earlier in my mission statement. So I really just see continuing to hitting the gas on getting more depth at balancing. Like I mentioned, like the business programs I'm in, balancing the business side of it, not shying away from that, and being intentional with the songs I'm creating, the spaces I'm creating in my city. And this is kind of off the cuff, but I'm somewhat excited to link up. It's just one pastor in town. He's trying to plant the church. I don't know why, but I feel like, well, I don't say I don't know why. I feel like I do know why, but
Yeah.
I feel like I'm definitely one of those cats that's like I hop on like those new type of movements like church plant stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
With so I've tested sometimes for the gift of apostleship stuff like that. So I like kind of catalyzing stuff, initiating things. So I don't know. That might be something that I end up getting involved with too. Like that. Like I said, this is really off the cuff, but I'm really thinking it could be dope to do something with that church plant.
Yeah.
But I've been just trying to make sure I really get more plugged into the one I'm at too.
Amen.
You feel?
Yep. Yep.
Really, but
and you got to make sure that you don't end up putting yourself over capacity, right? As you're trying to.
But I'll come back.
It all comes back to it, man. All comes back to it.
Feel me? That's why I love it too. Like it's songwriting in general. I've been trying to make stuff that's more universal and people can really find the end and relate to. You feel me? So that's why yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good, bro. That's good. Well, hey, listen, man. It's been a pleasure to have you back on the show, man. It's been good to be able to catch up, hear what you got going on. I enjoy our conversations. I know we all over the place, but hey, that's just how we do, and I'm okay with that, man.
Oh, I appreciate it. I didn't even realize the time passed that quickly. That's crazy, man. So, hey,
yeah,
this is fun. I always enjoy being on your platform, man. And that y'all still at it, man. Because, a lot of people, they give up. So, kudos to you, man, for playing a shout out to Nisha, too, for holding it down. She reached out to me. I'm like, it's up. Yeah, I'm there. Don't even. She said, you could. I ain't have nothing else to do anymore. This should come there.
Hey, that's yeah. No, I definitely know. Yeah, when Nisha says something, yeah, you ain't got nothing else going on now. You're doing that. So, I love that, bro. I love that, man. Yeah, well, I appreciate the kind words, man. Yeah, it's been many a times that I've wanted to quit, but Nisha is the backbone of this whole show. Because if it wasn't her, multiple times I would have been done. Multiple times.
I hear that. Oh, and shout out Nisha real quick too, man. I meant to text you this, but I was coming back. I just left Chicago. No, I was coming back from LA when I went out there with Derek Minor and them, right? And I was coming back from Chicago because I was at Chicago airport coming back to Indianapolis. And I heard on the radio, they got like a Christian hip hop radio station or something, and you had a little tidbit that's like, yeah, you was talking about like, yeah, I love listening to this station, wooty woo something. I can't remember what it was. I should have texted you as soon as I heard it, but I was like, oh, that's Nisha. So shout out to you, Nisha. You everywhere in the space, man.
Yes. She'd be everywhere. That's what's up, man. Well, hey, bro. Yeah, again, man, it's been a pleasure to be able to chop it up with you. We'll definitely continue to keep up with you and see what the Lord's doing with you, man. I pray that the Lord not only utilizes your music, but your heart about wanting to be able to plug in to your local church and your local community there. And I love that. That's a tug on my own heart as well, too, because I've been so connected with so many communities and states that are not my own. That I know that heart of, hey, I want to serve. I want to do what I can do, get my, roll up my sleeves in my own area. So shout out to you, bro. And just praying that the Holy Spirit would lead you through that and through the relationships and conversations that would need to be done. And yeah, man, that you just continue a blessing in your area, bro. So thank you again for coming on, bro.
For sure. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great night. And everybody in this stream, I'll be praying for you. Be blessed.
Hey, amen. All right, bro. Peace out. Yeah. I enjoy random conversations. I love that. Yeah, Nisha. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, hey, real quick. So, just because we kind of talked about this a little bit towards the end. So, talking about how the whole knowing your limitations, right? The reason why I want to kind of go back to the conversation of knowing your limitations is because I feel like a lot of issues that people tend to have in terms of looking at others keeping up with the Joneses, that kind of stuff. I wish my family dynamics was as good as that person's or whatever. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you are more aware, right? You're more aware of what you don't have versus what you can do with what you don't have, right? And it's like money. People be like, oh, if I had more money, I could do this, I could have that. Okay, but you're not stewarding your money well right now. So why in the world do you think more money is just gonna make it easier, right? More money, more problems, right? If I could just have more opportunities, well, what are you doing with the opportunities that you have right now? Are you actually even working for the opportunities that you have? Are you just kind of sitting around and waiting for a phone call so you can get to work, and doing something? Or are you promoting? Are you connecting? That kind of stuff or whatever. And so, but that also kind of segued my mind about that we are one body with many parts, right? So for those who may not know that scripture, I'm not going to read all of it, but I do want to read it really fast, just at least a little portion of it. So 1 Corinthians 12, starting at verse 12, the human body has many parts, but the many parts make up the whole body. So it's the body. It is with the body of Christ. Some of us are Jews, some of us are Gentiles. By the way, if you're not a Jew, you're a Gentile. We all Gentiles, okay? Unless you got some kind of Jew in you. Which my aunt, who's passed away many years ago, says that I have a Jewish nose, which I just laughed and I was like, I just got a big nose. I'm not saying that all Jewish people have big nose. Anyways, I'm going on. So, some of us are Jews, some of us are Gentiles, some of us are slaves, some of us are free, but we all have been baptized into one body in one by one Spirit, and we shall all share the same Spirit. Yes, the body has many different parts, not just one part. If the foot says, I'm not part of the body because I'm not the hand, that'd be crazy. Anyways, that does not make it any less part of the body. And if the ear says, I'm not part of the body because I'm not an eye, would that make it any less part of the body? If the whole body were an eye, how would you hear? Or if your whole body were an ear, how would you smell anything? But our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where He wants it. How strange would a body be if it only had one part? Yes, there are many parts, but only one body. All right, this is that repetitive nature that we talked about earlier in the stream as well, which it's helpful, right? That redundancy does help, and it is very important. So, but yeah, essentially, right? It's talking about everybody's got their own spot. So, if I scroll down further on, it asks, are we all apostles? Are we all prophets? Are we all teachers? Do we all have the power to do miracles? Do we all have the gift of healing? Do we all have the ability to speak in unknown languages? Do we all have the ability to interpret unknown languages? Of course not. So you should earnestly desire the most helpful gifts. But now, let me show you a way of life that is best of all. And that part right there of you should earnestly desire the most helpful gifts. The way, and I love actually reading NLT. That's the first time I think I really read that part in NLT. So I was remembering other versions, but the main takeaway is. Let's not be so worried about keeping up with the Joneses. Let's not be worried about what we don't have. But within what we don't have, what can we do the most of? What are we really good with, right? So for everybody who knows a little bit about what I do, like, yes, I DJ, but like I'm not going to no DJ battles, Yes, I do, photography and videography. I'm not about to go take on I don't know. Anyways, I don't mind saying yes to some money, but at the same time, I also know my limits and know like, hey, no, I'm not doing your wedding. I'm not about to mess up your entire day with that. But do what you can with what you have. Let's not worry about what somebody else has, what we don't have. And just because we don't have it does not mean it makes us a failure. It does not mean that we are less than. And more importantly, if you're rocking with the community and you're not able to do something, guess what? Get plugged with somebody who can do whatever it is that you cannot do that well, because you might be able to do something that they cannot do. And so my encouragement off of the conversation with Rome and off of 1 Corinthians 12 there is my hope for anybody who is listening is that you would focus far less on why you can't do certain things, and then trying to figure out what you can do with what you have. And then whatever you cannot do, find somebody who can do that. And within a healthy community, build together as a team, for those who know, as I DJ'd weddings and I DJ'd events for a couple of years, and then I actually almost quit DJing. And if it wasn't for the homie Paul, I would have stopped DJing. And, I hit him up one time and said, hey, I got a wedding coming up. Can you help me out? He's like, yep. Did the wedding. And I was like, I will never do a wedding by myself ever again. Right. So from there on out, I always have an MC with me. It might rotate now, but I always have an MC with me. Well, as I'm trying to create content, I'm realizing, okay, I'm not just DJing. I'm not just co-MCing anymore. But now I'm also trying to grab photos and videos, and then I got to go home and then I got to edit those, right, and all that. So now I'm like, crap, I'm kind of back into my same spot where I'm doing too much. So now I've been thankful to be able to bring on the homie Marco. He's building on his photography, and so now I'm like, oh, dope. Now I don't have to worry about the camera as much because he's doing that, and then I got my MC doing their thing, and now I can actually just kind of flow within everything. And I think that's just really important, and I think that's where community is. So hopefully that encourages somebody. Hopefully somebody can take away from that and be like, you know what? Even though I already knew that, I'm not really walking in that. Let me find a way to walk in that. So I'm going to go ahead and pray us all out, and then we out this piece, y'all. We out this piece. Lord, I just thank you so much for this amazing time to be able to be together, the technology to be able to do it. Father, I thank you for even just allowing my son to be a part of it and produce it with me, Father, and just the time that we get to spend together, and then for the conversations he gets the chance to hear. Lord, we pray for anybody who is watching this on playback. May it be a blessing to them. May they not only take away something, but that they apply anything that had been talked about, Father. And so we also pray again for Rome, that you would just use him in his area, and that you would allow him to stay focused on the task that you have before him, and that he would continue to lift up your banner above his own race, above his own music, above his own desires, and same with all of us, Father. May your will be done and not ours, Lord, because our will ain't got much will to it, Father. And so we just want to rest in you and trust in you in all things. And we just pray this all in Jesus' name. All right, y'all. Till next time, grace and peace. Adios.
Hey, if you liked any of this content and you found some value in it, make sure that you like, subscribe, and of course, share it. Also, if you're interested in some more, go ahead and check out these videos. Till next time, grace and peace. Adios.